Many people ask me, why are my drums sounding so weak? Why did I even pay for this very expensive VST when it doesn't really sound that good? And the answer is very simple. It's not your VST, it's the way you're using it. Listen to this.
So this is a track I've been working on, and I think this one is perfect to touch on this topic, since it has a lot of drum rolls and fills where the snare, kick and especially the toms are very present. However, if we take a listen, it really sounds like just one big block. You can't really distinguish between each element on its own. And for drum sections like this, you definitely want those fills to stand out, right? So
What's the problem here? It is the VST plugin, or maybe the bridge I'm using? The answer could lead us to many different outcomes, but most of the time is the fact that you're sending each drum element into the master track instead of routing them into separate channels.
your drums will not sound different just because you route them separately, but they will sound different if you have full control over each element on its own. The first thing we're going to do is to create some new tracks, each one for the different drum elements. So we'll start with the kick, snare, toms and cymbals. Right now I'm using invasion drums on contact player, but this technique can be applied to almost every drum VST out there. Also, for this example, I'm just going to create 4 tracks, but you can create as many tracks as you want, since some drum VSTs like this one right here don't only come with just kick, snare, toms and cymbals, but also with other snaps like snare top, bottom, kick trigger, kick front, back, overheads, room far, close, etc. Once you have your new tracks in place, we're going to open our drum VST plugin. And the first thing you will see if you switch between tabs is that every single element is being sent to the stereo mixdown by default. That means that you can only make detail adjustments inside the plugin, which can definitely become a headache if you're not familiar with its interface. Also, all the external effects you add to this main drum track in your DAW will affect the whole thing. So what we need to do here is to send every element to the tracks we just created. For that, we're going to this section right here, and we will create 4 new outputs, one for the kick, another one for the snare, toms and cymbals. Since we are working with stereo channels, make sure to assign pairs that don't collide with each other. For example, I'm going to assign the kick to outputs 3 and 4, and the snare to 5 and 6. Then, do the same for the other tracks. If for some reason you use 4 and 5 as the outputs for the snare, while you're already using 3 and 4 for the kick, part of each signal will overlap, so it's very important to use different pairs for each element when you're doing this. You may want to take note of those outputs because we will use them later. Once you're done, refresh your drum VST, and now comes the most important part. You will notice that now you have your new outputs ready to use, so we will quickly assign each element to its corresponding output pair. Now go back into your DAW and locate the Send Receives button on the tracks we created at the beginning. It will probably look a bit different depending on which DAW you're using. Right now I'm using Reaper with a custom template, but this option can be found with this icon in the standard layout. In other DAWs like Pro Tools and Ableton Live, it should look like an I/O icon, and if you're using Cubase, you simply need to go to a routing tab. So we will start with kick first. Once we're here, you will need to add a new receive and select your main drum track. In the audio source selector, you need to find the specific output pair you created for the kick. In this case, it was 3 and 4. Then you will repeat the process with all the other tracks, always making sure to select the correct output pair. As you can see, now we have full control of each element on its own. So you can make simple adjustments like panning, volume, and especially, and most important, add external effects to each track.
But wait a second, what if once I have everything set up, maybe I want to add some compression or probably tweak certain things on the whole drum kit? Well, that's very simple. You have two options here.
The first one is creating a drum bus and sending all those tracks, including the main drum track, to this bus. If you do this, make sure to dislike this option right here so you don't get duplicated audio signals. Or even more simple, you just select all your independent tracks and drag them into your main drum track. This is what we know as child tracks, because they will be affected by the one on top. So you won't lose any of the effects you apply to your separate tracks, but now they will be also affected by the effects you add to your main drum track or your drum bus. And that's it. I already did some adjustments so you can hear the before and after. I won't go through the full process here since we'll dive into effects processing in another video, so for now, take a listen. And that's the difference. Same VST, same preset, just more control. Most people never touch the routing, and that's why their drums never really hit hard. Please take in consideration that this was a very simplified example, and I always recommend to route every single element independently and also create buses for each group before sending them all to the main bus. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and if you find it useful, subscribe for more tips like this.